Like being horrible to people is not being an alpha. Being a guy who has no sense of humor, a boring fuck, is not being an alpha. Like you don't have to be a dickhead, boring. And that's the try-hard version. That's a beta male who's trying to impersonate an alpha male's personality. I can have jokes and laugh, and I tell my woman I love her, and I live very normal. Like I know who I am as an individual. No one messes with me, and she knows that. But I don't have to. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck your ass.
Yeah.
Anyone who's acting that way is just trying to impersonate.
That's the thing.
And that's the thing, because when I talk to another guy who's genuinely about it, like me and you, we're just friendly. There's none of this posturing. There's none of this, hey man, you fuck this, but I fuck this. These are just imitators. Like a lot of them are just imitators, and you get this all across the world. It's kind of weird. Like a lot of people talk about. There's a whole bunch of people talking about how there's a lack of masculinity in the world, and that is true. But I grew up in the fight circuit, so I always grew up around dangerous men. That was my whole life. And we were all very nice to each other. Nobody was like, I'm gonna fuck my wife in the ass so hard. No one talked like that. Like everyone's like, I'm training really hard, I hope I win. We were normal people. Like, so when I see dudes sitting there going, hey, you know what? This fucking Tate thinks he's so smart. I'm gonna fucking. You're not gonna do anything. You've never even had a professional fight in your life. You don't have the balls to do anything. Just you're embarrassing yourself. To anyone with a brain, you embarrass yourself, right? But they don't know how a true alpha acts, because if what I was saying about them wasn't true, they wouldn't even be fazed by it. The fact they're so upset by me, because they know it's true. They know what I'm saying is true, right? Every time they talk about me, I don't even know it. I don't even watch it. Fuck them. Yeah, so the War Room is an organization I created because it was what I was looking for when I was younger. So when I was 21 or 22, I watched The Matrix. Remember in The Matrix where Neo downloads all that information into his brain? Like, I know Kung Fu, and Morpheus says, show me, because he downloads it. I was like, where do I go online to learn how to get rich, get very powerful friends, and get a bunch of women? Because that's what I wanted. I wanted like 10 passports. I wanted 10 driver's licenses. I wanted paperwork that made me above the law. I wanted friends who in 50 countries around the world who I could crash with. I wanted beautiful girls. I wanted money, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So when I kind of became successful, I put that together. So the War Room is basically an organization based around personal sovereignty. It's not a political organization. We're not about Trump. You know, we're not about saving the West in any particular way. We're about saving yourself as an individual, getting as many passports as possible, getting as many driver's licenses as possible, as much paperwork as possible so no one can contain you. Corona's proved that, right? During Corona, I've been to 16 countries. I tried to go somewhere with my English passport, no. American passport, no. Nigerian passport, no. Moldovan passport, no. Romanian passport, yes. So you need a bunch of paperwork nowadays to even travel. So we teach all that. We teach people how to make money online. We do teach about girls. We teach about everything a man needs, and it's a network. If you go, when I go to Belarus, I'm going to be meeting War Room guys on the ground who know the city, who you can trust and take care of you. So it's an international network in 60 countries, and we have some amazing guys in there. So it's big, but because I like to make life difficult. There is a culture inside where you must brag. You must do impressive things, and you must meet milestones, and you must show your impressive things to other people. If you do not prove you are advancing as a human in whichever the different metrics, I don't want to give too much away, in the many different metrics, you get kicked out. So over time, only half of the members survive. Half of the guys join and they can't keep up and they get kicked out. So this is a group for winners. Everyone in there is a winner. And if you join and you're not a winner, you need to become a winner. You can't just join and sit around. It's the opposite of that. So I think in its history, I won't say how many people are in there now, but a good 600 people got kicked out in its history. I don't see myself ever getting married because I don't see the advantage to getting married.
Yeah, same.
If I have a woman and I love her and we're together, why do I need to get married?
Yeah, same.
Why? The women want to get married, right? So most men who get married get pressured into it. I believe this is the case. Men get pressured, please, 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 and they give in. I will never get married because I don't want to. I don't see the advantage. As for a relationship, yeah, I have relationships. And I believe in a relationship. Look, if you're sick, you want a woman who's going to give a shit, right? If you're just going to spin plates forever, what's going to happen when you're sick or something bad happens, or not from an emotional perspective, but if I'm sick, I want a girl, look, bring me soup. You want that. It's normal, right? So I have relationships. They'll never be monogamous, no, because that's not who I am as an individual. I refuse to be monogamous because I'm true to my biology and I'm true to who I am as a man. And a woman can go and choose a monogamous man if she so chooses. It's up to her. I will not be a monogamous individual, but I will still love you. I say to you, look, I will not be monogamous, but I will still love you. I will still take care of you. I'm still your man. You still call me if there's a problem. I'm still here for you, but I'm going to fuck that bitch. It is what it is. Like, I will never be monogamous and I will never get married, but also, this is another point I like to make. If people are happy, be happy. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're hell bent on doing it, I'm not trying to talk you out of it. Like, if you want to, you can do anything you want. You want to jump off a bridge, go do it. I'm not trying to talk you out of it, but I just don't think it's a good idea, personally. I kind of feel like there needs to be a definition as well. There needs to be some distinction. And I understand that, like, Rollo's talked bad about me and some of the other guys have talked bad about me, but I'll be honest, the reason Rollo doesn't offend me is because I don't think he's saying he's a playboy. He's saying I'm a theorist and this is my theory. And I think some of his theories are right. And by his own theory of hypergaming, the fact that women want the best they could, by his own theory, of course we have women more attractive than John or Ryan because we're higher value males, right? So Rollo's own theory cements our attractiveness. It cements our success. I know a little bit. I see in the chat people are talking about Richard Cooper. I have nothing against Richard. I like him. I know you're looking at me mad now. I'm just saying, he's never offended me. Maybe in the past he's insulted me, whatever. I talk to him. He seems like a nice enough guy. I don't think he's particularly saying about slaying pussy too much. He's just giving theories and advice based on his life experience, right? I can't say. It doesn't matter if you're skeptical. It doesn't matter if you do not believe, because it's happened. And it's not by doing what exactly. Many people have done amazing things, different methods, right? We had one guy who became a millionaire with OnlyFans girls. We had another guy who became a millionaire with the DeFi project. We had another guy who launched his own crypto. We had another guy who invested in the casinos. We had another guy who did a real estate deal based on someone else he met in the war room in South Africa. We have lots of guys who made lots of money. Your network is your net worth. To come along to a network, an international network headed by a decimillionaire and full of multimillionaires, and to say, I'm skeptical. How can I be a millionaire if I join? Doing what exactly? Is a very feminine, amateur approach. You understand? If I sit with millionaires, I don't sit and go, how do I become rich exactly? That's not how the world functions. If you're skeptical, Eddie, I very, very, very much recommend you do not join. Because already I can tell by your attitude, when we tell you what to do or you see other people doing things, you're going to fail because you're not going to have the right ethic. If you're skeptical, please do not join because you're just going to get kicked out. The war room is for people who have the mentality. There's for winners. You have to be the kind of guy who can join in a hyper-competitive environment full of lions and start to run with the pride. You can't be some dude who sits there and starts saying to the lions, you guys said you were going to give me some food. That's not what we're looking for. That's not what we're looking for. So, Eddie, you're not welcome in the war room. And if you're skeptical, you can keep your skepticism. And the winners will be the winners. And you can just stay outside. It's just, if you're going to try and diss me, then most of the time it's not worth my time. But I really did grow up in a physical realm. And I want to try and explain my mentality. I grew up in a very physical world. Like, if people are going to make diss videos about me on YouTube, they're welcome to. But if you want to garner my respect, you're going to have to get in the cage or come see me on the street and do something. Because I'm a physical individual. This is who I am. This is how I gained respect from the world by becoming the champion. This is how other men gained respect from me. Even men I beat, I respected them. I beat an Armenian guy. I broke my hand on his head. His eye was closed. And I shook his hand and said, you are a fucking hero. This is how I operate. If you're not a physical individual, then nothing you say matters anyway. Because at the end of the day, all your opinions I could take away from you with my physicality that you lack. So whatever, it literally is whatever to me. Like, I don't operate in that sphere. I operate a physical sphere. If any of these men want to do something, we can arrange it, but they won't. So they can just sit and talk. And if they hate me, that's fine. But all I can talk about is my personal experiences with people. My experiences with Rollo were always positive until he got tricked by the MGTOWs, my experiences with Cooper are currently positive. I understand he spoke bad about me in the past, but I hold no grudges. He seems like a nice enough guy now. My experience with Cooper was he seems like a nice enough guy now. And Ryan and MLD we've talked about, and it is what it is. And I'm just living life. That's all I can do. I know I'm fucking. So I'm not worried what they're saying. I know what I'm fucking, and I know they're good. I know they're beautiful. So my life's good. Completely. And I think for all men, happiness comes at the end of an achievement, whatever that achievement may be. I think that's why men conquered the earth, and that's why they risked their lives to go to Antarctica or climb Mount Everest, right? You had to have some achievement. That's what makes men happy. I am happy with my life, but I would also be happy if I was broke. If I lost all my money tomorrow, I'd still be happy. I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with how I think. I genuinely wake up and look in the mirror and I'm happy with everything about me. I'm happy with how I look, how I think, what I've done. I'm happy. I'm a genuinely contented individual. So it's not about girls or money. I mean, that's just a bonus of being an extremely high performing man, right? Of course I have girls and money. But I'm happy. Yeah, I'm absolutely content with who I am. And I think I'm living a fantastic existence. And if I lost everything tomorrow, I know I'd get it all back. So I'm completely happy. I don't believe in sad. Sad does not cross my mind. It's not on my spectrum of emotions. I'm either happy or I'm angry. Yeah, I'll get pissed off, but the more angry I am, the more work I get done, the more money I make. So it's not a big deal to be angry, right? Anger is a natural masculine emotion. But Tristan and my cousin, and he's here, so we live together. We're laughing all the time. We're doing whatever we want all the time, partying all the time, acting like fools, being crazy, you know, and we're just living the life, you know, and we're being happy. Yeah. Like I genuinely do not understand a man who processes sadness or depression. I think those are feminine emotions. And I think a man is either happy or angry. And if you're truly angry, that's all the motivation you need to change something. If you're really mad about a situation, you're going to change it. There's no room for sad. Do you think the people in the trenches in World War II had room to be, in World War I had time to be sad? It doesn't cross your mind. You're either fighting or you're just playing cards and making jokes. You have to survive and live. And I'm a very happy person. You couldn't make me sad if you tried. Like you can't even really affect my mentality if you tried. I'm a very contented person. Yeah, it's you have to be an animal to participate at that level. So I have absolute respect for it. And I live with a guy who does it, right? So I see it in real time. I see him literally going, got fucked 4 girls today. He's like tired. I'm like, why are you doing it? So I gotta keep these 2 girlfriends, and I got a date, and I know I'm gonna bang her, and then I got another one. And I told her I'm working till late. I'm with her like 4 in the morning. He's up all night and shit. It's like some guys are just about it. He'd be a good guy to talk to. He's about it for sure. But I mean, look. The thing is about Jake Paul is this: he's a young guy, and he's training hard. So he might be pretty good. Like he's still a young guy training. You know, I'd spank him, but he's still a young guy training. You can't say, you know, he has 0 chance of being dangerous. He's a young guy learning to box, and he's training with Ryan Garcia and Canelo. Like he's going to be good, like to a degree. I'd whip his ass, but he'd never fight me because I'm not famous enough for him to lose to. If he loses to Ben Askren, he can say, well, I lost to a UFC fighter, so, and that's to get out of jail free card. But the dude's a clown. He's the biggest clown on the internet, and he made a lot of money doing it. And hats off to him. But when he was insulting Conor McGregor, I mean, McGregor, has won some, has lost some. But McGregor, people don't understand how difficult it is to get the balls to get in there. And I respect all fighters, whether you win or lose. If you have the balls to get in there, you have my respect as an individual. And I just didn't like seeing him run his mouth like the little clown he is. I thought that was devoid of honor, and it angered me. And I was perfectly ready to come out of retirement to whoop his ass. But he will never fight me because he knows he will lose. I will destroy him. But hey, maybe maybe some of these red pill guys will. I'm going to be honest with you. Last time I officially counted was a couple years ago, and I was around 380. And in the last few years, I've slowed down a lot because I'm busy. I've got 10 wives and I've settled down, right? So I've got my girls. I've been with them a long time. So I'd say between 450 and 500 is what I'd estimate it at. The majority of that was when I was fighting. And when I was fighting pro, I'm 34 now. I was at the height of my career when I was maybe 27. So this is 8 or 9 years ago. But 8 or 9 years ago, the world was very different. You didn't have Instagram. You didn't have Tinder. Like the only way to really get girls 8 or 9 years ago was to turn up at the club, turn up at the bar, and talk to them. You know, like this whole digital world is brand new. So a lot of it was just going up to girls. My opener was very simple. I used to say, excuse me. I used to get their attention, because what a lot of guys, I think the biggest mistake they make is they'll approach a girl and say something, and if she ain't paying attention, her first reply is what? And that's a negative start, right? If you go up and say blah blah blah, and she's like, what? That's a shitty start. So I'll go up, excuse me, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, excuse me, very calm, because I'm a big guy, I'm 6'4", so a lot of them are, so you know about the intimidation factor, right? They get scared. So I try and be very calm, and I just say, excuse me, you're absolutely beautiful. Your friend is nice too, but you are really, really beautiful. I want to come tell you you're beautiful, and I'd love to buy you a drink. That was like basic shit. And I'd talk to them a bit, and that would be basically it. Like, I never had any crazy strategy or anything. I just try and be an interesting individual and be fun and easy to talk to. And it wasn't that hard from there. That's where a lot of it was. I guess in the world I live in now, being perfectly honest with you now, I meet a lot of girls on Instagram because I'm fortunate. I have a very large Instagram following, and I have a blue tick, and I have Lambos and diamond watches, and it's super easy for me, right, to tag myself in Moscow and wait for inboxes. Like, I'm at that level now. But before, when I did most of my work, it was just like any other guy. Just go up to them and say hello. They didn't know who I was, and it was just basic stuff. Yeah, it's just like if you see a hot girl, you'll go say hello, and if you don't, you don't. And I feel like it's also certain parts of the world now. Like, certain parts of the world still lend themselves to night game, going up to girls, cold approaching, and some parts of the world lend themselves to the online stuff. There are certain cities where if you don't go online, you're just going to struggle. There's certain places like that. So the world's different, you know, everything's changing a bit, but certainly in the peak of my hedonism, it was the old school way, you know. Like now I wouldn't say I'm lazy, but now it's a little bit easier for me to just talk to a girl online, blah blah blah. But I'm also very well known in Bucharest. My brother and I we're basically celebrities here, so it's easy for us. If we go to the club, we can get any girl we want. Yeah, sure, I'll tell it. They put me on Big Brother. Long story short, what happens when you go on these TV shows is they try and find the most emotionally weak individuals on earth, because that makes the best TV, right? So they put you, of course, because if you're like me and you're level-headed, you're not going to panic or have a breakdown. When that's no good. You need to cry and scream and argue. So in Big Brother, it's very they keep you at the bare minimum calories, so you're always a little bit hungry. The house is a fucking mess. It's very filthy. It's very hard to keep the place clean because there's so many people. And also they leave the lights on 24/7, and they wake you up very early, so you're also sleep deprived, and you can't sleep properly because of the studio lights. So everyone's tired, everyone's hungry, everyone's sleep deprived. Anyway, and a lot of people were having basically emotional breakdowns. I mean that like after 3 days. I miss my family, having full-on emotional breakdowns. And I was just sitting there, and when they take me to the diary room, and you talk to the diary room, you talk to the public, and also they turn that off and you talk to the producer. And they'd ask you, like, for your own mental health, are you okay, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, look, this is easy. You told me this was going to be a challenge. What? I'm a professional fighter. I've been in the ring with 87 men trying to kill me. You're asking me to sit around a house. Okay, the lights are on. But like it wasn't a big deal for me. So anyway, what happened is one night I upset one guy, and he started trying to act like a tough guy, and a bunch of people had to hold him back. And I stood up and said, no, let go of him. It's no problem. Very calm. Let go of him. No, he's going to knock me out. Let go of him. And then 3 of his other friends joined in. So now it's 4 on. Now there's 4 of them trying to attack me, and a couple guys hold them out. I'm like, let go of them all. Why are you holding them back? Let's make a TV show. Let go of them. So anyway, of course, they all acted tough. None of them did anything. And the producers took me to the diary room and said, in the event of an altercation, because you're a professional fighter, for our insurance purposes, we need a guarantee that you won't hurt anybody. I was like, so what, you want me to play Floyd Mayweather and just dodge punches and wait for security? No, if they attack me, the rules of the house are no physical altercations. If they attack me, they get what's coming to them. And basically these 4 guys, because they're emotional children, kept getting upset with me, and I kept just saying, do something. I'm right here. I won't even stand up. I'm sitting down. Come. And the producers realized a fight was going to happen, and they realized I was going to hurt somebody badly. And instead of kicking out every other man in the house, they thought Tate's got to go because he's too calm and he's upsetting everybody, and he's going to hurt someone bad. And they said, sorry, Mr. Tate, here's some money. Please leave. They paid me to leave because they didn't want me to kick up a stink. And that was it. So I was out after 11 days. And that's the experience of Big Brother. Yeah, the whole red pill space is kind of weird. Like, I kind of fell into it on accident, but there's certainly some weird ideologies and stuff. Like, the idea that if you live with a girl or if you buy a girl a coffee, you're a simp, and like just weird stuff. And I don't know on what planet these dudes think that you're going to go on a date with a beautiful woman and buying her a coffee makes you a simp. I don't know. Some of these theories that come around are kind of strange to me. But yeah, exactly. Because they say that's simping, but I think it's extremely alpha to sit down and pay for the dinner and pay for like you're the man, right? I'm the man. I sit down, look, you're mine. Boom, here's the coffee. It's paid for. Boom, suck this back. Like that's the game, right? I don't know, but everyone has their own tactics, blah blah blah. But I don't think you're going to be sitting anywhere in the world with a tent arguing about the price of a coffee. I don't think that's going to go down too well. Yeah, pretty extensive background. So I was a kickboxing world champion, 4-time world champion. Retired.
Yeah, that's awesome.
When I retired from fighting, I moved into the webcam business. So I started a business where beautiful women would sit on the internet and talk to guys. I started a company. At one point, I had 75 women working for me. And I basically became a multi-millionaire from beautiful women working for me. So this is how, I mean, even when I was fighting, of course, I slept with a lot of girls, but my primary qualification within the female sphere, I would guess, is the fact that I made millions of dollars from beautiful women. So I certainly knew how to deal with them. And I lived in a very femme-centric, environment. When you have a house full of beautiful women, you certainly learn how to deal with them to keep them obeying you. So that's kind of my very, very short history. I had a webcam company for a long time, made millions and millions of dollars, and then kind of moved on to a few other things. And here I am. So this is kind of how I fell into the space. And yeah, I mean, the red pill, it has a lot of names in it, and there's certainly a lot of guys, especially for a while on Twitter, there was a whole bunch of like anon guys talking a bunch of shit. I went day game. I found a 10 at the mall. You didn't find a 10 at the mall in Minnesota. Shut up. Like these guys, there's a whole bunch of garbage on there, a bunch of guys without proof, without receipts. And that's what makes your channel interesting, right? Because you have proof and receipts. And I kind of like to think that's where a lot of my credibility comes from, because if you follow my Twitter feed, there's literally pictures of me with hundreds of women, like hundreds of beautiful women. Like they're there in my house, in my bed. Like it's very hard to dispute it, and that's what I like to think the whole space needs. Like you need to show you're about something, but there's not much of it in this space. And well, I tend to agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of how it's worked out. And it's kind of weird. But like I said, I fell into this whole space. I never really was a pickup artist. I was all about trying to get paid. Like I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money. That's what I wanted. So I was a pimp in that sense. Like I was not trying to have sex with women. I was trying to get women to obey me. And I realized that's easier if they like to have sex with me. If they don't like having sex with me, it's pretty hard to make them listen to me. So that's kind of, my angle was kind of a unique angle on the whole thing. And I kind of fell into the space. And I don't think I'm really in the red pill so much anymore. I think I've been kind of exiled by, there's certain names on both sides of, because there's a clear split, right? There's a split. You have Anthony and 21 Studios, and you have Rollo and his team. And there's certain names on both sides that I like, and I don't think I've ever really taken a side firmly, but I will sit and say, I like this guy on this side. I like this guy on this side. And I have my reasons for liking people. But at the end of the day, we have to be objective, right? So if you're going to be a dating coach and talk about girls and you don't have any girls, then then to some degree, without throwing shade or being seen as bitchy, to some degree, then yes, you are lying. You are a fraudster to some degree. Like if I say I can fight but I can't, it's a different thing. So yeah, there's a big split in it, but I've met a lot of these guys personally. There's a lot of the guys I like, and there's definitely been a new wave. I've seen that some people have identified, like yourself and like Anthony Johnson, the president, they've identified that the biggest thing holding the space back is fakers. And I feel like there's been a war against the fakers to try and to get the movement moving again, right? Because you give the feminists a lot of ammo. If the whole movement is full of fakers, then they just get to call you idiots. And I've seen very little of their stuff, but the things I've seen, like the way they dress and stuff, you can't go to Monte Carlo to a casino and roll with a high-level girl dressed like a fucking clown. Like that, I don't know what planet these guys are on. And I also know that and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I kind of feel like you've been all around the world. Maybe you'll agree with me on this. There's American game and there's international game. And I feel like they're different things, because in America, you can look like a clown and girls are idiots and they'll get drunk and bang you anyway because they're just morons, right? But if you go to certain places in the world, like Eastern Europe, or I'm sure I've heard the same thing about Brazil, where girls have a little bit more class, they expect you to have your shit together, they expect you to live in a nice house, they expect you to have some money, they expect you to be funny and eloquent. You can't go to Kiev or Moscow dressed like a clown and pick up a Russian 10. Like, you're going to either get murdered or stabbed, but you're going home either alone or you're going to end up in prison with Bubba. You're certainly not, you're not going to be picking up chicks. So there's an Americanization, because I'm American. I don't want to be anti-patriotic, but some of the biggest idiots in the world you're going to find are in America. And the way they're like, yeah, walk around San Francisco dressed like a peacock. Like, that's not international. That won't work in most places on the planet. It's just childish, amateur hour. It's amazing how quickly a city gets destroyed. I tell you, there's a very small town called...
It happened in Vegas too.
Well, it happens everywhere. There's a very small town called Košice, Slovakia. You'd have to look at it on a map. It's the second biggest town in Slovakia. Bratislava sucks, right? But Košice is on the other side. It's 4-hour drive from Budapest. It's about 6 hours from Warsaw. And when I used to go there 10 or 11 years ago, they had no airport. It's 7 hours. It's like 5-6 hours from the nearest major city. It's even 5 hours from Bratislava. So it's kind of like this town in the middle of nowhere. And all the hot girls from any village within 200 kilometers was in this tiny little town. It had 2 clubs, and you'd go to the club and it would just be like insane. The most beautiful women you've ever seen all over the place, right? And you used to just tear through girls. It was so easy. It was insane. And then what happened? They opened an airport and an international school and blah, blah, blah. And within 2 years, every chick had disappeared and got on Instagram. And now she's in Dubai with a millionaire, and they all just vanished. And there's just a bunch of students, Iranian students and American students hanging around the bars. And their whack game has put all the local girls off foreigners. Now they won't talk to you anymore because some Iranian's been talking in their ear for the last 2 months. And the place just got ruined, and it got ruined within like 1 summer. It was unbelievable how fast the place went trash. It's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of kids.
Exactly. So, and without that, then you have a whole bunch of girls that the second you approach them, they're immediately defensive. And it's like you said, it's amazing how quickly cities get ruined with a few amateurs in play. They mess the whole place up, and that's what Kiev's like. When you say they're a bit stuck up, Kiev has a whole bunch of low-level dudes who heard about Ukrainian girls running around talking shit, being amateurs. And it's very hard. I mean, Ukraine is, I will stick by the fact that Ukraine is some of the most beautiful women in the world. But to actually approach them and pick them up on the street is not going to be an easy task. Plus the religious element, like you said, plus they want lots of dates. It's not easy. Lots of Americans say to me, if I move to Romania, will I get girls? I say, listen, if you can't get laid in America, you're not getting laid here, because it is much harder here. This is the most orthodox, this is the most Christian country in the world, 99.9%. They all go to church on Sunday. They're really scared of stigmas in their city. They're really scared of their dad finding out. They're really scared of certain things. It's extremely difficult to fuck a Romanian girl just on a first night. It's hard to be.
Same with Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that Bucharest is the haven of women. I moved here for other reasons. I moved here because I had some very important, like, a lot of people think I moved to Romania for girls, right? I moved to Romania because I had a bunch of important fighting and political connections. So I did not move here with girls in mind. And I wouldn't say it's the best place to gain girls at all. I think there's much better places in Eastern Europe to pick up chicks. Romanian girls are not easy to sleep with. There's a big gangster vibe. A lot of them are owned by men. Lots of like pimps who own 20 girls. Like, you'll be in the club, you'll see 20 chicks, but one man has them all, and you can't talk to them. And it's not a good place to pick up girls. I'm just here because I'm here, right? But it's certainly not a haven for females in any regard. I wouldn't recommend it for that. So I do a lot of, when it comes to being full of shit, I like to have a saying. I have a saying which I like to stick to, and it says, every man thinks they can fight, every man thinks they can fuck, every man thinks they can drive. And these 3 things, you put a man in a Ferrari, he's like, don't worry, I can drive, I'm good. Every man says that, right? Every man thinks, oh, you don't want to mess with me. Every dude, right? And every guy's the same with girls. Oh, I'm good with girls. So there's a whole bunch of disillusion and bullshit because men feel like they want to prove they're masculine. And these are 3 easy things to lie about. But I completely agree. I feel like in the world we live in now, you need to have some kind of tangible proof. It's just too easy to talk the talk and not walk the walk. And this is where I have to give credit where credit is due. Like I said, I don't want to take a clear side in any kind of splits or beefs. Credit where credit is due. You do show proof of result. Anyone who's going to say you don't is just jealous and bitter. You show proof that you are successful. And what's amazing is, for me personally, right? I like to consider myself a man. So even my worst enemy, if my worst enemy had results, I'd sit and say, I don't like the guy, but he has achieved X. But it seems like in this space, people are too bitter to even admit, I don't like the guy, but he's good. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. You're clearly good at what you do. Yeah, I try very hard to, and I want to make this clear to everybody watching. I try very hard to avoid a lot of this shit. And the main reason is, the main reason is, and I mean this, the main reason is I live a very good life. Like I'm a multi-millionaire retired athlete. Like I own casinos. Like I'm doing important things. When someone says to me, Nick Krauser, I'm like, who? You think I have time to read the blog of some old, depressed man? Some sad old man? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm busy, you know? Like, I really don't have time. But people have told me basically what he said. He said my fight career was fake, which is verifiably false. I mean, you can go on Wikipedia and see every fight. Yeah, I mean, you can see me in the ring fighting. And he's like, oh, but he didn't fight the best. Well, how did I become world champion? Like, you can go on the websites of the organizations and see pictures of me everywhere. The guy is just clearly bitter and jealous. He said my fights weren't real, which only discredits him as an individual. I mean, if he was truly successful with women, he wouldn't be spending his nights in the middle. He wouldn't be sitting in the dark analyzing my fight footage. Like the guy's low level, right? He's a low level dude. He hasn't achieved much with his life, either with females or outside of females.
His stats are horrible too.
Articles. Like, but to me, the more he writes about me, the worse he looks. To say that a world champion fighter isn't a fighter, to say that a man who made millions of dollars from women doesn't know about women, he's just embarrassing himself. Like, I welcome all of his articles. I have nothing against the guy. I'm sure if he saw me in person, he wouldn't say a fucking word. So he can sit in the dark up in northern England and typing away furiously with his dick in his hand.
I think that as a man, your happiness comes from feeling respected over feeling loved. And the reason perhaps you're happy now is because you have more respect for yourself because of the decisions you're making. And you have self-respect.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of men, even if they have self-respect, if nobody else respects them, they're struggling. I think male depression can be fixed with respect.
I want to tap into depression. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that it's massively overdiagnosed. I say depression isn't real because I speak in absolutes. I think the idea of feeling depressed is real. I don't feel like it's a clinical disease that you catch from the sky and it can't be fixed. I feel like depression is feedback, pain is feedback, and your mind and body is telling you something must change. And if you make those changes, you will feel happier. I don't buy into the idea that it is a disease. I think it's situational, and you must change your situation and your actions and your decisions to feel better. And that's why I say it's not real. It's not a disease. I do not believe in depression. That's just who I am as a person. I don't believe in it. I do not believe in things that take power away from me. So, and people sit there and they try very hard to convince me it's real, which is actually quite interesting because it's always usually depressed people who sit there and try very hard to defend this idea. If you're so scared, if depression's so terrible, why are you sticking up for it? Why are you fighting so hard to convince me it's such a powerful force? Why shouldn't you be doing the opposite? Shouldn't you be listening to me? Whose team are you on? Like, do you want to be depressed? Like, it's insanity. These people are so desperate to push this idea. I've said this many times before. I don't believe in things that take away power from me. I don't care if depression is real. I don't care if I'm wrong. I don't believe in something that takes away power from me because I can't become depressed if I don't believe in depression. That allows me to shield my mind from the idea of being a depressed person. I can feel depressed temporarily, but I can never become a depressed person because it doesn't exist. You can lock me in a Romanian jail cell for 93 days with cockroaches. I will not be depressed. I will feel a little bit sad, of course, but I will never become a depressed person because I don't believe in it. And when I say this, depressed people are like, no, depression's real. It's ruined my life. It's taken everything from me. Depression's real. Depression's real. I said, you sound like it's promotional team. You sound like it's
their
PR
God.
team.
It's their God. They're worshiping it.
You're worshiping it because it gives you a cure-all excuse for your monumental failures, as opposed to waking up and going, you know what? Maybe I'm a fuck up. Nothing to do with depression. Maybe I've just been fucking up. Maybe depression isn't real and I've just been fucking up and I should fix a few of these things.
What have I been reaping?
Absolutely. And you'd be amazed how depression will lose power over your life and lose its ability to destroy your life if you stop giving it so much respect and just wake up and say, let me fix X, Y, and Z. What can I control? Let's pretend I'm completely wrong, right? We can look at situational depression like you just described. We can talk about brain imbalance and chemical imbalance. We can talk about clinical depression that you get and it's chronic and there's nothing we can do about it, whatever. Let's pretend all these things are completely true. The best option, the best thing to do is still to get up, be an adult, control your emotions, be stoic, and do the things you're supposed to do day after day. Laying in bed and doing nothing is never going to be the best option. Best option is still to go to the gym, to work hard, to run your business, and be successful. So it doesn't matter. We're talking about the different positions on the chessboard. But if the rules of the game remain the same, regardless of the position you're still trying to win, you still have to do the same things. So does it even matter at this point? If you come along and say he's depressed because of X and he's depressed because of Y and he's depressed because of Z, and the answer to all of them is still the same thing, then I don't give a fuck why you're depressed. All I know, what I will say as a matter of fact, is this world is hyper competitive, especially as a man. Most men are walking through life and they don't realize that it's constant competition. I was driving here. Even as I was driving here, I was looking out the window. And I was looking at all these people just walking around. One of them had a fucking croissant. One of them was dressed like a dickhead because it's London. He thinks he fucking looks cool. Looks like a fucking moron.
We've all seen them.
Yeah, moron. Some of the dude just talking shit on the phone. Some other guy with headphones in, waiting to be fucking murdered, wouldn't even hear it coming. And all these NPCs, I'm just looking at them going, do they realize they're in endless, constant competition? Every single pound they want, someone else wants. Every single girl they want, someone else wants. There are people like me out here. I will destroy, you could get all 30 of them in a room and I will sit by myself and absolutely annihilate them in any single metric. And they're just sitting there just fucking floundering and wandering through life, unaware of how competitive the world is.
Well, and whinging how unfair it is.
And how unfair it is. And this is my point. If the world is truly that competitive, you do not have time to be depressed because it's a non-competitive mind state. You could be depressed for X, Y, Z, whatever. I'm not depressed. And I want the money you want, and I want the girl you want, and I want the status you want, and the car you want, and the house you want. And I'm going to get it, and you're fucking not. This is the thing about society and MSM and all this garbage and the Matrix. They try and convince you, don't worry if you're being a loser because people feel sorry for you and you'll get attention for it and you'll be okay in the end. And it's all this temporary fixes of dopamine by saying, I'm sad. Don't worry, bro. You'll be okay. But it's bullshit. They don't care long term. The world doesn't care. Nobody really cares. Chicks don't care. Business doesn't care. You are going to fail. It's kind of interesting because everyone pretends they give a fuck, but nobody does, especially women. And I don't get attacked for women, but women truly don't give a fuck. If you ask a woman the kind of man she wants, she will never say depressed or sad, ever. She wants a man who is ultra capable, ultra competent. I've literally had women say to me, you know what? I love being around you. I'm like, what? I don't have to think. I'm like, what do you mean? Because I just turn up and like, we just walk in the hotel and everyone, staff do anything we want and the jet's just on the runway and we just land and I'm in this beautiful place and I don't even know where I am and I get to just turn my brain off and it's great. Like, they want someone who is fun and spontaneous and charismatic and successful. They don't have time for sad dudes. They don't care. So the world doesn't care. The world has never given a shit about sad men. So if you're going to sit there and self-diagnose yourself as a sad man, you're going to have a shit life and nobody's ever going to give a fuck and you're going to perpetually lose forever. And that is your decision. I am so scared of being that person. The idea of that terrifies me to the point where I don't even want to accept that as a reality that can possibly exist. I don't give a shit what happens to me in my life. I don't care how bad it is. I don't care if the worst, most heinous things I can possibly imagine happen to me. I know that my sadness, my depression will be temporary because I will never stay a loser. It is against my creed. It's not in my DNA. I disagree that if you feel depressed, I disagree that you cannot affect it and change your life and take control and fix yourself and feel happier. I disagree with that.
Do you think?
I refuse to accept that there are people out there who cannot become happy, contented individuals. I refuse to accept we live in a world where God has created people who, no matter how hard they work and how good their life becomes, can't be happy. I don't accept that. I accept that the universe is a very giving place and that God loves all of us. And if you try your best and you work hard, you can become a better person. When I say depression isn't real, I'm saying that because I don't believe in things that can take away power. If I believed in depression, I would have been depressed in jail. But I can't be depressed if I don't believe it. If you don't believe in ghosts, how can you be haunted? You have two people in a haunted house. One believes in ghosts, one doesn't. There's a knock in the night. One wakes up, calls an exorcist, is terrified, looks for a ghost. The other guy doesn't believe in ghosts. Knock in the night, goes back to sleep. It's the belief in the ghost that gives it the power. If I don't believe in depression, I believe in feeling depressed. Sure, we're humans, we have emotions. Sometimes we feel depressed, sometimes we feel happy. I don't believe in the idea of becoming a depressed person who has depression. I don't believe in that. I don't think that's possible for me. So if I don't believe in it, how can it happen? I don't believe in depression. So why would I not adopt the mindset that makes me the most capable predator I can possibly be? Why not adopt the mindset that makes me as competent and as fearsome as possible? If you have to install software in your own mind, why would I not install software that makes me capable of not only driving a Bugatti and flying on private jets, but sitting in a Romanian dungeon covered in cockroaches? I need to be able to do all of it. So why would I believe in something that made me incapable? I don't believe in depression because I think that even the belief in and of itself, when you feel depressed, you'll start to consider, maybe I have depression. when you go see a psychiatrist who tells you have depression and they want you on pills. It's the belief that goes down the spiral. If I feel sad, I go, I'm depressed today, I'll be fine tomorrow. I do not believe it's a disease that you catch from the sky and you cannot affect. I believe that no matter what happens, I believe you have control of your own mind and you can fight against it. I believe if you change the circumstances in your life, you may feel different. I'll give you a quick example. I had a guy who emailed me saying he was clinically depressed and he was going to kill himself. I obviously am not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor. I told him, because I replied to my emails. I said, have you been to a psychiatrist? He said, yes, I'm clinically depressed. I've been on these pills, this amount of time. I'm on antidepressants, it doesn't work. I said, I don't know what to say to you besides this. And he said he lost his girlfriend. That's why I became clinically depressed. I said, listen, go to the gym, get a six-pack first. Once you've got a six-pack, email me again. If you still feel like killing yourself, I don't know what else to say. I'd say, strong body is a strong mind, go train. He went, he started sending me progress pictures, emailing me him getting in better shape, and eventually got a six-pack. He's now a professional bodybuilder. And he said, I can't believe I was considering that. I feel so much better, etc. The doctor was telling him he was clinically depressed and couldn't cure it. He started taking control of his own life, and now he felt better. When I said depression wasn't real, the number of people who would attack me defending depression, this is what I didn't understand. Right? You say depression isn't real, but depression's ruined my life, and it's super real, and it's ruined my life, and I lost my marriage. I'm like, if I told you it wasn't real, you should be coming to me saying, tell me how it's not real. Please help me with my depression. Why are you trying to convince me that it's real? Why are you sticking up for it?
And why are you defending depression?
And why would I adopt the thinking of someone who's sad? Why would I? You're going to convince me to take your worldview. You just told me your wife left you, you're fat, and you want to kill yourself. And you want me to sit here and go, with my perfect life, and go, you know what? I want to think like this guy. You're out of your mind. I don't believe in it. And because I don't believe in it, it's made me the kind of person who can't become depressed. And the reason they don't like me attacking that is because depression is a fantastic way to subdue a population, right? If everybody's depressed, it's hard to have a revolution. You're depressed. Oh, they've locked us all in our houses. I don't want to go outside anyway. I'm sad, right? So depression's a fantastic tool of population control. They have no problem with you being depressed. They have a problem with you being the opposite, principled and energetic. No, they don't want principled, energetic people. That's a problem. A bunch of depressed people, easy. If you had to invade a country, would you rather the opposing army be principled and energetic or depressed?
I'll tell you, I would not want to be invaded by a cheerful army.
Absolutely.
That's scary.
They're having too much fun, right? You want them all to be depressed. So
a morose army is easier to defeat. I agree.
Absolutely. So depression is a defended idea. You're not allowed to even talk about it. You're not allowed to help people get out of it, right? They like the idea of a depressed population. And this is what I say to people. Now, I'm not stupid. I understand like PTSD is real. I understand mental health is real. I'm not saying that, but I say if you're an 18-year-old boy or 18-year-old man and your life is pretty much okay, bacteria didn't steal your eyesight, which could have happened. You never had a car crash and lost both of your legs, which could have happened. You're actually very fortunate. And you wake up and you say, I'm depressed. I think you're an idiot. I don't think you're depressed. I think you've been psyoped. I think you feel a little bit of depression and you can fix that by changing your life. I think if you became rich and strong and smart and successful and you worked hard and you dedicated yourself and you were motivated and you tried your very, very best to become excellent, you probably wouldn't feel depressed anymore, which means it's not a disease, is it? So why would you? Well, the only reason you're even saying you have depression is because you believe in it.
So you're arguing for cause and effect. You're saying if you live a certain way, you're going to feel a certain way.
Absolutely. And I also would argue that I think we've evolutionarily, even though I do believe in God, I think that we've designed ourselves and the human has grown into a way where if you feel depressed or sad, I think that's a fantastic trigger or a warning signal to do something. If you were to say to me, Andrew, you have to complete this monumental task. You have to conquer the world. I would say, okay, but I need a emotional motivation to do that. I need to be unhappy having not completed the task. You know, I need to be uncomfortable, right? If you're uncomfortable being out of shape, you'll get in shape. If you're happy being out of shape, then you're just going to stay out of shape, right? So if you feel a degree of uncomfortableness inside of your mind, I think it's just your mind telling you that something about your life needs to change.
Yes.
You need to get up and change something. Guys would say to me, I'm depressed because I'm fat and I have no girlfriend. And I'd say, no, you have no girlfriend and you're fat and that's why you're depressed. If you go change those two things, you'd probably be surprised that your disease goes away. I do not like to hang around with men who suffer from a lack of women, because in my experience, any man who can't get women will eventually sell you out for women. It's too powerful a force. Too powerful a force. If you're completely sex deprived all the time, sooner or later you're going to sell your boys out for sex, whether it's his ex or some girl talking bad about your boy, but you really want the pussy, so you let her slide. If you're not good with girls, I don't want to talk to you. Second thing is money. You haven't got to be rich, but if you're starving, you're going to try and sneak some money out of somebody. right? If you can't eat, you'll do anything for food. You can't pay the bills, you'll do anything for money. That means whether it's a plea bargain, whether it's trying to rob me, whether it's money sitting around my house. I don't want to talk to extremely broke people. I don't want to talk to extremely sex-deprived people for the same reason I wouldn't have a whole bunch of food around a hungry person. Same reason. It's the first two things. Next thing is loyalty, and I know that's super hard to judge, but I really like to believe that the few people I hang around with, if we were all in separate police interviews and they were to come and say, hey, your boy turned, I could literally burst out laughing. Say, bro, you better come with a new story, G. Go away and think about it and come back. Well, we can talk, but don't try that one. Try again. So loyalty is very, very important. Next is bravery, because can't fight is fine, but won't fight is unacceptable in everyone. If I'm with my 5 friends and I'm going toilet in the club and I come back and I see someone punch one of my friends, I am annihilating anybody in that guy's crew. We'll find out why later. My guy could have been wrong. It could have been my guy's fault. I'm just hitting him. I'm just knocking everyone. When everyone's asleep and the threat is neutralized, I'm like, bro, what the fuck was that? He goes, oh, I started it. It's like, oh, fucking. Well, first, people have to pay, right? We'll worry about the whys afterwards. So they have to have that loyalty and that devotion to the bravery, the ability to fight. I find it very crazy. I find it crazy, and I say this often to guys. I say, you're rolling around with these men who won't even fight to protect you because they're cowards. So they'll watch you get your head stomped to death and cower out and not even try and help you. And they're like, yeah, but he's funny. But he's funny? We're talking about life and death. You're talking about fucking funny? So if I can smell on someone that they wouldn't even attempt, I don't want to be anywhere near them for the same reason. And general professionalism. I've developed a habit where I punish myself for the smallest unprofessional actions. If I misplace my keys or misplace my phone, and it takes me more than 10 minutes to find it, I'll punish myself for that. Regardless, whether it's I don't spend money this week, or I don't go here, or I'm canceling that, or I'm gonna defer buying something I want to buy. I punish myself religiously so that next time I put my phone down, I know where I put my phone. Next time I put it down, I know where I put it all the time. When I put it down, I know where my phone is. So when I'm around people like, hey, I lost my keys, or hey, bro, I forgot. When I'm around sloppy people, I don't like it. I like people who have their lives in order. When I detect sloppiness, I don't really want them too close, because gaps are where things sneak in. Other things are basic OPSEC, really basic OPSEC. I like that if I'm around my friends, if I'm ever sitting with my back to a room, this is an enclosed environment, but in a normal restaurant, I never sit with my back to the room. But if I have to do it, I like that I never do it, but if I have to do it, the people I roll with, they'll literally give me a nod. We'll sit down at dinner and I have to sit here, they'll go, and they'll pay extra attention for me because I can't see behind me. I like that level of professionalism. I like that. I like people, like I said, don't get weak, no hangovers, no crying their eyes out, no cowardice. It's infectious. Don't like that round. No negativity. Don't like that round. So there's certain things that I create a very, very particular reality. And it's actually interesting because to me, these things are all normal, but when you have these kind of standards, it's pretty hard to find friends. You're like, oh, you're a dumbass, you're a pussy, you're like, and you don't talk to that many people. But if you get a crew together that act that way, it's amazing how, not to get all airy-fairy, but it's almost an intangible. When you have 6 men in one place who are perspicacious, who are paying attention, who do have their things right, who don't lose things, who do it, the whole room can smell. When me and my crew walk in a room, even if it's almost like an energy. Some guy can be eating his dinner and not even see us walk in and go, 6 predators. It's like the rabbit when the fox comes. Like you can smell when the guys turn up. Do you know what I mean? And everyone's experienced it, everyone's seen it. So anyone I associate with, I have these very, very stringent metrics, and they're basically just to make sure that nobody gets inspired by something they can't resist to snake us. And also nobody's overly sloppy and allows a way for us to be infiltrated and destroyed. And one of the easiest ways that people, especially in the modern world today, especially people in my position, are infiltrated and destroyed are women. So with women, I create that very heavily. If you get a guy who's thirsty and he's on your crew, let's say I have problems with another crew, and I know they have a member who's thirsty. That is the easiest job in the world. You get one hot bitch to Instagram message, you're gonna find out where they are, what they're doing, where they've been, the hotel room right now. It's fucking dumb deal. You can do whatever you want to them idiots, right? You gotta have guys who can turn that shit down. I've had it a bunch of times in my life where I've been in countries. I was in Sofia, Bulgaria. I was talking to this girl. She's like, hey, 10 out of 10. And I've been talking to her for a few weeks. She's like, hey, let's meet at this place. I'm like, let's go here. No, this is my favorite place. Let's go here. And I was like, no, I'll turn pussy down. I could have been wrong. Could have been right. Could have been right. We're never going to know. I'll turn it down. But if you have that guy in your crew, hey, bro, she's so hot, bro. She's so hot. That's problems for you and him and everyone else. So you got to be very careful with the kind of life you're living. But if you live with people who have their lives in order, it's important. But professionalism is also a really big one. When I see people who are sloppy, it makes me very uncomfortable. Now that I've analyzed that my father sacrificed his marriage for me and Tristan. Because I think that there was times of massive contention with my mother where he was so principled and so concerned with our upbringing as men that he sacrificed his marriage with my mom for us.
He filed the divorce?
Yeah, so I'll give you a very quick example. I'll tell you a very quick story that surmises it. So they were still together when we moved to England. My father was still in America. He came over to visit. And my mom said to me a couple of days before he comes, your dad's coming, we're gonna go get a haircut. And I was must have been about 12. Went to get a haircut, we went to our normal hairdresser wasn't there. Got some other hairdresser, cut my hair, whatever. And when we got back to the house, my mom's like, I don't like how she cut your hair. She cut your hair wrong, And I'm only 12, right? So I'm like, yeah, she cut my hair wrong. So when my dad came, my dad turns up, he's only there for like a couple hours. I haven't seen him in nearly 6 months. I said, oh, yeah. My mom said, I hate the way they cut his hair. And I said, yeah, they cut my hair wrong. And my dad lost his temper. He said, what the fuck are you doing? You're raising my sons to bitches? What the fuck are you talking about haircuts? I leave you here with my boys. You're talking about telling them to worry about their haircut? They're fucking men. Who cares about their hair? Their haircut doesn't matter. When they grow into men, no one's gonna care what their hair looks like. Their haircuts are stupid. And my mom's like, well, no, Emery, it's just, she cut it wrong, And then my dad was like, listen, I trust you with my boys and you fucking cut their hair on. So they got in some big argument. So I'd only seen my dad for 3 hours at this point, fucking 6 months. They got in a big argument. My mom kicked him out of the house. So he left the house, right? So he went to the hotel. And then the next day he called me, he goes, I can't come to that house. Your mom doesn't want me there. Come to me. And I came to him and we went to the hairdresser and I was only 12. So this is a traumatic experience, right? I cried my eyes out. I don't know why I cried, but I was upset. He goes, come with me, boy. Why? He goes, you'll learn when you're older. You're going to understand when you're older. You're going to shave your head. And I was like, I don't want to shave my head. He goes, listen, you're 12, you're a kid. Nobody cares about your hair. Come here. Sent me down the thing, had my head shaved by the thing. When I went home, my mom went fucking crazy. This is the story she recited to his death about how crazy my dad was. His dad, Emery's crazy. He made him shave his head. He's so crazy. That is so crazy. But when I shaved my head, my dad said, listen, you're going to grow into a man and you're going to learn that there's so many things that society expects of you and there's so many things that people expect of you and there's so many things people are going to care about. And the last thing on the list is going to be your haircut. You're not going to give a solitary fuck. I'm not going to have you being raised in your haircut matters. So people always say, oh, why am I bald, right? So I had hair until about 3-4 years ago and I was remembering this story. So after this story with my mom and father, my mom went nuts, called my dad crazy. He went back to America. So some 3 hours after 6 months because of this haircut thing. Because he was so principled, didn't give a shit. So I was sitting in a hairdresser and I was waiting the guy in front of me and he had his hair cut and the guy in front of me, he goes, oh, finished. And he goes, oh, excuse me, can you just a little bit here and the top, just a little bit and the top and here and here. And I'm sitting there and I'm just on my phone and I'm like, gives a fuck, a millimeter? Bro, you're ugly anyway, G. What the fuck? No one cares. Like, and he messed around for like 10 minutes fucking with his hair. So when it was my turn, I sat down. It wasn't my normal barber. He goes, hey, how do you want your hair cut? And I remember the story and I just couldn't, I was like, bro, shake it off. Like, I'm a millionaire, kickboxing world champion. Who gives a fuck about my hair? I haven't had hair since. Like, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it.
You just shave your head?
I just shave it off, yeah. I could grow a full head of hair. I just shave it off. You could? Yeah, I could, yeah.
You just prefer to be a bald badass?
No, I did it at that day, and ever since I've just been like, oh, it's just easy. I can go anywhere. Shave it off, shave it off, shave it off. But that's an example of my father would destroy his relationship with my mother to try and teach me and Tristan things. And I have so many examples of that. Their biggest arguments were almost him being too principled about me and Tristan and my mother trying to be like, Emery, that's crazy. Or Emery, let him go to sleep. Emery, he doesn't want to play chess. Emery, sometimes my dad was like, no, but he is going to be this way. He has my name. So you can leave the house if you want. Eileen, he's doing this. So I think a lot of his relationship breakdown was actually because he was so principled on us, which is quite a unique perspective, I guess. It's just the thing about emotionality. Because you just nailed it. Even with the best possible intentions, if people are excitable, they're manipulatable, and they can be used. This is why stoicism is so important. Let's imagine in a hypothetical situation, you guys were to hand me $1 million cash. Like, I would sit and think, I'd say thank you. And I'd sit and think, am I going to get out of this building? I wouldn't be like, wow, $1 million. Oh, I wouldn't get excited. I'd be like, that's unusual. Fuck. that's what I think. I'd poker face it, but that's what would go through my brain. Because if I was excitable, wow, $1 million, and you'll give me more? Wow, that boom. That's the end of the game, right? You can't be excitable. There's a time and a place when you're with very, very select people in very, very private environments you can be excitable. But otherwise, yeah, you're right. People get excited and they talk too much and they get happy and da-da-da. And it's fine at a certain echelon, but once you reach the upper echelons of life, you have to really start analyzing risk reward, especially in the modern world. Especially, look at me now, right? I just took a huge risk. I'm a misogynist and I'm evil, and I just want to boat with 30 girls. If one of them were to turn on me, imagine the bullshit that would have come to this. That's a risk. And I had to analyze the risk, had a conversation with all the girls in advance, made it clear they all had their own separate bedrooms, that operate extremely professionally, CCTV on the boat. I couldn't just be some jackass, let's all just go get drunk and everyone get drunk at a sex fest. You have to be pro, you have to be professional about things. And the sloppy guy wouldn't have done that in my position. He's go, hey, I got a boat, I got girls, I got booze, I got money, and I'll just say to them, look, if you know things, even though I don't do anything wrong, but if you know even who I associate with, if you know things, then you have to lie. Why isn't it easier if you just don't know? Then you got to lie, right? So I'm working. What's work? Work's work. You're on a jet. You're on a jet, right? So I keep certain things from them because it makes it easier than them having to worry about a false narrative or a lie in the event of whatever, or if we break up, then what, right? So I'm very careful of that. I'm very, very careful who I talk around as well. Like if there's random, like on the yacht, me, Tristan, and my cousin, we were just with 30 girls on the yacht, we didn't talk business once. We talked business one night when everyone was asleep. A couple times, like Luke went to go, hey man, I'll message you. We'll be sitting in the same room, WhatsApp. This is people. Loose lips sink ships. Doesn't matter if you're doing nothing wrong. You gotta be careful who you're talking around. They listen to shit. And in the modern world, they record shit. Like you don't want to, even if it's a 0.1% chance, but what's the upside? Like there's no upside. Yep. So why take the 1% chance? Risk reward. I'm very, very careful. And especially with women, not because they're necessarily malicious, because women in general don't have to worry about the certain things I'm talking about in terms of professionalism. There's a whole bunch of beautiful, smart, great women out there who just go through life and they're just Instagramming everywhere they go and they forgot their keys and do. And if she's too close to your circle, it's just an in. It's an in to get you. And you gotta be careful. And it's amazing whether it's the 1970s Soviet spies or the 2022 mafia, when they want to get a dude, it's a chick. You either send a new chick or you watch his old chick or you find his girlfriend. Even a bounty hunter today. Let's say I was wanted by the police and they couldn't find him. Who's his girl? Bet he's gone there. Bet he needs some sex. Go put a car there. Every time, every fucking time. You gotta keep this shit in order. And the women I associate with have enough respect for me to go, okay, I don't know. Fine. Just, I love you. When they arrested El Chapo's girl, didn't you say I didn't know he was a criminal? I thought he was a chef or some shit. I was like, perfect. She doesn't even know I lie anymore. He's a chef. He told me he's a chef. He's a chef.
He's a billionaire chef.
He's a chef. Dude's a chef. I don't know. The guy's a chef. So, and it's actually interesting because a lot of men want to brag to women because we want to show status. So you want to sit there and brag about all the good things you do, but there is a downside to that. There is a degree of downside. I was in Moldova. No, I take that back. I was in Constanta, Romania 9 years ago before I moved there. And I was in a club and I must have been the only foreign person in the club. And there was a 11 out of 10 Moldovan. The most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. And I went over and I tried to talk to her and she said, yeah, I only drink champagne. And at the time I didn't have that much money. I said, I only drink champagne. Well, I'm finished drinking for the night, but it's very nice to meet you because I couldn't afford a bottle of champagne, so I had to style it. So I was like, I don't have any, I said, I'll finish drinking for the night, but it's very nice to meet you. What's your name? Okay, nice. Left the club, whatever. Next day I came, I saw her on this table, champagne show. Next table, champagne show. And while she was doing all this, we were kind of catching each other's eye, looking a little bit, And a couple times I caught her at lunch. Constanta's like a beach town. I caught her at lunch, I spoke to her a little bit, and she kept asking me for champagne. I was like, listen, you are absolutely gorgeous. I think you and I are gonna have a long and happy future together, but I'm not gonna buy you champagne. I'll tell you why later. I'll put mystery on it. So I can't tell you broke, right? I'll put mystery spin. So I'm gonna tell you why I don't buy champagne later. It's a long and interesting story. Once I can trust you, I'm gonna tell you why I won't buy you champagne. You can trust me now, I will tell you. I'm not yet. Styling it off. Anyway, as we got to know each other across the summer, eventually when we became friends, she came clean. She works for the club, she gets commission on champagne. Of course. The girls in the club, you're buying champagne for this thing, she gets a commission per bottle. What was interesting is this, she had on her phone a system. So she'd meet you, you'd buy her drinks the first night. You'd go a separate date the second night, you buy her drinks. Third day, she'd send a pre-decide already in her notes how you live far away and she can't fall in love again. She's only been with one man her whole life. She falls in love with you, she's gonna have her heart broken, and she's scared. And then she'll ghost you for 3 days. Then eventually after begging, you'll get her back. She wants to come, but not on her own because she's scared. She wants to bring 3 friends and she'll go to this restaurant. She wants to drink this champagne. Boom, boom, a commission. And she'll show me in her Facebook message, every dude, playbook, every fucking guy, one after another, every night of the week, all just falling for the playbook. She goes, you're the only guy who never bought me champagne. I was like, yeah, well, I didn't tell her I didn't have any money. And I was like, I've been around the world, I know some things. So anyway, I played it off. And she was sitting there telling me, yeah, and when she was going through it, it was scary to me. She goes, yeah, this guy on Facebook, yeah, he's from Turkey and he does private airplanes and da-da-da-da. And this guy, she's telling all their jobs, the money they're making, where they live, the town because these dudes are sitting there talking, I'm so rich, baby, I'm so rich, I'm so rich. You want champagne? I got it. I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And I was sitting there thinking, whichever mall boss picks this girl up is going to have a whole bunch of targets to go robbing all night long because dudes just can't shut the fuck up. And this is when I was 24, 25. Ever since then, I style it off. What's your job? Oh, I work. It depends where I am. If I'm like in Romania, I say I make papanash, which is a Romanian donut. It's a national food.
You're the donut guy.
I say I make papanash, baby. Papanash, like I'm number one. I just style off. None of them know my job. None of them know what I do. None of them know because you don't know.
Papanash.
You don't know they know. So yeah, I'm very, very careful when it comes to talking to women for that. She is by coincidence Islamic. She is Muslim.
Okay.
She's half Turkish, half Romanian. But a lot of my women are kind of similar. They're like, oh, hi. And they don't really talk too much. And that's just something I've asked them to do in a very polite way. So look, I talk to lots of people. And you guys are fine, right? But I'll tell the truth. I say I talk to a lot of unsavory people. I have a lot of people who know me, whose hands I shake, who are bad people. Bad people. They don't need to know too much about me. I don't even really want them to see you. It's unfortunate and they catch me on the street and you're with me. That's a bad time. I wish it didn't happen. The last thing you need to be doing is going saying, hello, my name is this. Just don't talk to them. And by extension, it's the same thing with violence. I had a conversation with my girls as well. My girls are completely trained. I said, listen, if I'm ever attacked or anything ever happens to me, run, scream and run. Don't be trying to get in the way or say, don't hit him or some bullshit. Just fucking leave. Because I know dudes don't care that shit. You gotta get out. So I try and be as protective as possible. I'm not trying to be controlling. I just try and protect them from situations. Just say hi. People like, hi. Don't say your name. Don't go over there. Oh, I knew him from here. Yeah. We've been together this long. I'm from this country. Just leave it. And some people can find it weird and rude, but I think I can, overall, the people I know, and I can style it off and they can understand why it is that way. And it's just a better dynamic for me. I mean, Ali's Ali, right? But Mayweather's never lost. He's never lost to anybody. And I liked him because he was so clinical and so precise. And he took his ego out of it and said, I want to have a longer career than everyone else. So I'm going to focus on not getting hit and hitting him. I may not get the knockout. I don't need the knockout. I've won. Just win clinical chess. Win payday. Win payday. Your fight was boring. 100 bill, whatever. 100 mil, whatever. Yeah, boring. Cool. Next, win. He was really smart. So I like Mayweather. He's someone I've always looked up to and I really respect. That's a really good question. I think that it's kind of difficult now in the world because also a lot of the people who are propagated to the top and perpetuated into absolute global stardom, I'm not sure if all of them have done it through good intentions. Look at the things we said from Logan earlier, etc. But I think even now, I have the most respect for the common man. I think I have so much respect for the common man. I say it all the time to Tristan. Me and him will have our most in-depth conversations when we're in a S-Class on our way to the private jet and we see a street sweeper at 3 a.m. in Romania knowing he's getting $200 a month. And me and T will look at him and go, I respect that. Like, man, there are so many people out here just living hard lives. And I have so much respect for them. And we can talk about the ones who make it, but there's so many people who don't. And that's difficult. And I have so many stories. I don't want to tell any more stories because I can go on forever. But even little things I do, like at buffets, nobody ever compliments the chef at buffets. So whenever I go to a buffet, I try and say, bro, did you cook this? This is great. I did it in Cyprus at some resort. I swear, like I gave him $1 million to smile on his face. He'd never been complimented in 15 years of cooking meatballs. He was the happiest man in the world because he just slaves away for fucking nothing. And I think a lot of people are out here just giving their life force up for nothing in return.
He wanted respect.
He wanted respect, and I gave him a little bit for some meatballs, and I could tell he'd never been complimented in history. Most people would say, hey, where's the plates? You know, so I have respect for the common man, anyone who's out here doing what they have to do. There's no such thing, and I know I have a lot of money, but there's no such thing as shameful work. If you're a man and you're getting up and you're working, doesn't matter what it is, we need people who do these jobs, and I have absolute respect for you. And when I talk about escaping the matrix, I'm not saying that, you know, if you're working your normal job, you suck. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you want to live the life I live and you want to have all the things I have, then you have to escape. Of course, it's going to be difficult, but I have absolute respect for anyone who gets up in the morning and faces their demons and gets it done. Because life as a man is fucking hard. It's really hard. I think from an ideological perspective, it's nice to have certain figures because it certainly inspires the morale of the sensible as opposed to the morale of the insane. I believe that. However, I believe that the power structures are set up in such a way that the president doesn't truly matter. I don't know if you saw, there's an interview with Putin when Trump first became president. You can find it on YouTube. He said something very interesting. He said, what do you think about Trump? Trump has all these ideas about Russia and how he wants to change the world, etc. Putin said, I think he said 4.
I've sat through 4 US presidents so far. They all come with very interesting ideas, and then the men with the black suits and the briefcases come and explain to them how things are done, and then they leave, and I'm still here, and nothing really changes. Putin understands. And I think for this reason, winning a vote is nice to say ha-ha to the other side. Winning a vote is nice to say, look, there's still some common sense in the world. It's certainly a morale boost from the actual skin and bones, from the actual blood and grit of how it would change society. I don't think it changes anything. And for that reason, and because I don't want to be suicided, I am absolutely not real. My view on Putin is very controversial. So I wrap this up with this. I think Putin is misunderstood. I think he's a misunderstood man. I think that he's been in power for a very long time. I think he's extremely smart. I think he genuinely cares about Russia and Russians above other countries. We're living in a world now where it's very interesting to see European leaders self-implode and self-destruct their own gas prices, their own governments, their own businesses, their own populace's living standards because of some idealistic notion that they need to help a nation that they have no direct link to. If I'm a leader of X country, I should be concerned about X country more than I'm concerned about the plight of whatever country. That's my duty and job. I think it's very interesting that most politicians in the world today don't seem to give a shit at all about their constituents. They care about aligning themselves to higher ideologies and self-imploding their own countries and the living standards for this ideology.
Yeah.
Putin doesn't do that. It's Russia first, Russia. Russians, Russia. Russians, Russia. And for that, I respect him. Most other countries don't do that and won't do that. So I find that very, very interesting about him. I think the current situation is absolutely and utterly unfortunate. I think what happened is terrible. War on all sides is always terrible. I think it's unfair that we discussed Ukraine at length when this has been happening across the Middle East and Africa for decades and nobody ever gave a shit. But now people seem to give a shit about proxy wars and unfair conflicts and people dying. It's always been happening and nobody cared because they're brown or black. But now we care because they're white Europeans and their chicks are hot. So I think there's a degree of hypocrisy there. He's certainly not the bad guy everyone's saying he is. He has a point, and his point is logical and it makes sense, and he has a point to defend. And I think that to a degree he was forced into make the moves he was made. I'm glad you asked that because when they attacked me, when the Matrix attacked me, they said that I report misogyny and I believe in chauvinistic principles and all this absolute garbage. And when they said that about me, I understood it's very important that I create a list and explain to the world exactly what I believe. So without looking unprofessional, I've written it down. I would like to actually say I've written 41 tenets of thing I believe in. And if you hear any that you disagree with.
41 tenets.
41 tenets.
Interesting.
If you disagree with any of them, I would love to hear feedback on them. So these are the 41 things I believe in most. And before I read out this framework, it doesn't matter if you are a Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, weak or strong. I think if any man lives true to these tenets, they're going to have a fantastic relationship with life. And also they're going to be a good force and good influence for people around them. And I think that all in all, they're going to enjoy their experience, their human experience, and the people close to them will also enjoy their presence. So that's what this is about. These are the 41 things I believe. So here we go. I believe that men have the divine imperative to become as capable, powerful, and competent as possible in this life. I reserve my human right to hold my own beliefs and practice them as I see fit and allow other people the same right to believe and act as they wish. I prefer loving, rewarding, consensual relationships with beautiful, positive, and virtuous women. I believe men and women are different and that each has their own unique and important strengths and abilities. I believe men have the sacred duty to protect and provide for the important people in their lives. I believe men have the sacred duty to protect the innocence and sanctity of their children and reserve the right and responsibility to raise their children as they see best to ensure their long-term happiness and success. I believe that men have the sacred duty to raise strong, capable, and honorable sons. I believe that men have the sacred duty to raise kind, feminine, and virtuous daughters. I utterly disapprove of violence within romantic or familiar relationships. I support good and honest governments and will obey their laws. I prefer to only conduct business dealings with trusted and vetted brothers. I believe that a man has the sacred duty to hold true to his word and do exactly what he says he will do. I believe that a man's life is difficult and that he has the sacred duty to become strong to handle such difficulty. I believe men are personally responsible for their actions and for the results they achieve in their lives. I believe in emotional control and the vital need to become disciplined and professional in all things. I believe that men have the sacred duty to approach everything in life from a position of strength. I believe that all men have the sacred duty to become men of upright and virtuous character and live above all possible reproach.
I believe it is incumbent upon me to ruthlessly identify my own weaknesses and limitations, and I eagerly work to overcome them and become more capable in all realms. I seek to improve my personal freedom to think, act, and live true to my masculine imperative in all ways. I believe each man has a sacred duty to mold the physical body into the strongest, most resilient, and most capable version of itself. I believe that men have the sacred duty to rigorously train themselves, both physically and mentally, every day. I believe that I have the sacred duty to only eat the highest quality foods possible. I reserve the right to protect the sanctity of my bloodstream and make my own decisions about medical care and procedures. I affirm the importance of endlessly improving my mental faculties through diligent work, study, and practice. I believe in acquiring wealth and abundance in order to improve my life and do good for those I care about. I believe in the merits of healthy competition and constantly encourage all men to seek out competition to improve themselves. I believe that masculine brotherhood is essential to men's mental health, happiness, and success, and I relentlessly encourage men to meet together, train together, and work together. I maintain the trust of my brothers through reverent silence regarding our most sacred and shared experiences. I believe in honoring my ancestors and living in a way that would make most of them proud of me today. I reserve the right to administer difficult rites of passage for our young men to allow them to earn the rank of manhood. I affirm the importance and need for travel and adventure as men. I seek to help men overcome poor mental health through embracing hard work, physical improvements, and shared masculine brotherhood. I reserve the right to make the best choices I can at the time to protect myself and respect my mental health. I do good in the world and seek to help those less fortunate. I believe all men have the responsibility to lead and guide those they care about for greater health, prosperity, and happiness. I choose to only interact with those who are respectful and civil to me in return for my own respectfulness and civility. I reserve the freedom to speak and refer to others as I believe is best and most truthful. I reserve the right to choose my company and include only those whom I believe are best for my health, happiness, and success. I believe I have an imperative to only spend my time in a way that I determine is beneficial, uplifting, and empowering to myself and others. I choose to only allow myself to be influenced by those who I believe have my best interests in mind. And the final one, each day I dedicate myself anew to create the greatest possible positive impact on the world and do the work necessary to achieve a greater masculine excellence across all realms of human endeavor.
Join us on Patreon for no ads videos.